Hello and welcome to something a little bit different. Today we'll be playing a board game by the name of Diplomacy. It's all about tactics and intrigue, the world of 1900s Europe. Joining me today, in the role of Russia, it's Jess with the unpronounceable surname. Hello.
Oh.
As leader of Germany, it's Kaiser Liam.
Guten Tag, mein Kinderklügelkutschen.
I am going to pretend that I understood that.
I called you my little cupcake.
Oh. We're going to be killing each other soon. As France, it's our resident vampire, Prime Minister Patrick.
C'est le président.
Pardon. President Patrick.
Merci.
As Queen of England, it's Georgia. And finally, the man who started it all by getting shot in the head, it's Archduke Franz Chris. I shall be taking the role
English.
as leader person of Turkey. Don't I look dashing? Okay, so let's get started. For these guys have never played this game before, but I've explained the rules to them. I'll probably make a different video at some other point explaining the rules, which you'll probably have already seen. Well, you won't have done because nobody watches my videos, but yeah.
Oh, Turkey, why are you so hard?
It's because I love the...
Come on, you're a magnificent sultan.
You've got over 13 years before your empire collapses, haven't you?
The year is 1901. Europe is gripped in the beginnings of war, I'm presuming.
No.
No.
It sounds like it's gonna be good.
Europe is fine. Everything is hunky-dory. Nobody is angry at anybody. Everything is about to go horribly wrong. Incredibly tits up. Okay, would anybody like to make diplomacy for our first
Oui.
move? Patrick de France would like diplomacy. Who would you like to talk to?
Avec Messieurs Chris et Georgia.
I don't like where this is going.
So if you're going to get to Berlin, you think you can do it? Because you're going to have
Maybe. I have to
to... We have to... No, because we have to stop Alex. We have to break these
Yeah,
points.
no, but that's the point. No, the whole point is we completely fucking destroy Liam.
No, because we can't, because we have to stop these points being taken by him, because he's going to fucking rape her.
They're forming an alliance.
If we ally,
They're forming an alliance against you.
if we ally, and we can control most of the board, and then we can focus Austria and Hungary, and then butt rape France.
So if I start with Munich, get the Ruhr, and then get Kiel, and then
Well,
you
I
move
could
out of
get
Munich,
Kiel.
or shall I let
Yeah.
you go through Kiel to Berlin?
Yeah.
Okay,
That would
right,
be
and
a
then
lot
fine.
easier.
If you get Munich, and then you let me have it afterwards.
The main problem that Russia and Turkey usually have is that they both try and go for the Black Sea, and then they both get bounced back, and that's just a wasted turn. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
No.
So, would you like to go for Romania, and I'll go to the Black Sea, and then, or where are you taking this fleet? Are you bringing it out into this sea?
Yeah.
So, do you want to go to the Black Sea, and I'll just I'll go to Constantinople.
Yeah, okay, that sounds good.
I have a deal with Jess. A game-lasting deal. Of what? Of don't attack me and I won't attack you. Let's be friendsies. However, I have a feeling you're going to fuck me over.
What's your deal with France? How are you feeling towards France? I want to break them. I want to break France.
You want to?
I want to break France.
So you're going to France via Germany?
I'm going to have to, because I can't get them through Piedmont. I tried that before.
Well, I was considering sending my fleet over, and if you send your fleet via the Adriatic, and I send my fleet over, in a couple of turns, it'll be a few years.
Okay.
You know, it will take a while, but I reckon that we can get them.
Okay.
Have you talked to England at all? Because England is usually a good ally in attacking France. I don't know how Georgia would feel about that.
If you let me have Bulgaria, I'll give you England's movement. I'll tell you what England's going to do for the next couple of turns.
I'm afraid I can't give you Bulgaria. I'll just talk to her and find out what she's
Okay,
doing from her.
I feel like me and you should make an alliance, so that we can mess up Chris.
I mean,
And
France
then
and England are usually...
I'll leave you.
I'll tell you what.
I'll make you a deal. I will let you take Belgium if we make an alliance. To
If
take
you wait,
over.
okay. This is my discussion. What we discussed is still on.
But if he double crosses either me or you,
We'll go for him.
then we swap
Yeah.
and we go with Liam.
Yeah.
Okay?
Nice to know I'm your second choice. Arsehole.
I'll level with you. I want Serbia and Romania.
Serbia and Romania.
Yeah, and I want you to give them to me, and then I'll let you have Bulgaria and Greece.
That seems fair with me. But, in return for that, I want confirmation that once you've got Serbia and Romania, you'll then bugger off.
Once I've got
Because I don't
them-
want two armies on my borders, I'll be honest.
That's
I'll
fine.
let you have them.
Once I've got
but
them,
please leave.
I'm going for Germany.
Okay. I'm considering heading for Italy. Is that going to be
That's
okay
not going
with
to be
you?
an issue. Just don't take Venice. Venice is mine.
Okay. Venice is mine.
Is I'm going down to Holland.
Okay.
And I'll leave you with Belgium.
Mhm.
And I'm going to move up to take Denmark.
Okay.
But I've already arranged with Jess to be safe, so
Okay.
that I don't have to worry about this border.
Okay.
And I've arranged with you to be safe, so I can position my armies here
Okay.
to prep Chris.
What I will tell you is, I'm going to go to Belgium.
Yep.
And I'm going to accept your peace offering, as
Yep.
it were. And then, I unfortunately am going to need to take the Ruhr.
Well, if we have an alliance, I'll let you move through Ruhr,
Okay.
and it won't be a problem.
I'm going to need to take the Ruhr in order to keep up my sort of charade with England.
Yep.
Because my plan originally was to get to Kiel and then go back and take England. So in that case, if I'm allowed to have the Ruhr, then I can keep up the charade with them.
Russia, would you like to discuss what you're doing? What are you planning? I don't mean to intrude on your, but what are you planning to do with St. Petersburg? Would you like any advice for that?
Advice? Don't know.
Russia, I want Warsaw.
Mm,
What would you have for Warsaw?
I don't know.
I don't think that's a very good deal, Jess.
No.
I want this place. What will you give me in return?
Yeah, what?
Nothing?
Russia, look, you've got a royal family. I've got a royal family. Let's marry. Let's marry the family. We'll become
That's-
one.
Is that a thing in this game?
That's not a
We'll
rule.
inherit.
That's not part of the rules of the game.
Yes, it is.
It should be.
It should be.
Just make one.
I'll actually marry you in real life. What did President Fuckface say to you?
His plan doesn't revolve around you, he revolves more around messing up here. So you're safe from him for the meantime.
Okay, well,
But at the meantime, I don't have anything to do with you. I'm going to move borders, armies here to keep up the appearances that I'm going to be attacking you. But I'm going to be more focused in the north with taking Nice.
This is insane. This is literally insanity.
Does anyone want to talk to me? No? Okay.
Don't worry, Georgia, you'll be fine.
How do you know?
Absolutely fine.
How do I know?
Well,
You don't know what they've been discussing.
the only person in the position to attack you is France.
I'm going for Germany. It's going to whack this up.
I'm Germany. You've just said you're going to attack me.
Well, that's
Oh,
all
no.
good. I am glad I caught that on the microphone. Okay, so diplomacy is finished, finally, and we're getting on with the moves. So everyone moves at once. So everyone, reveal your moves. Okay, so we'll start with our resident vampire as France.
Awesome. Okay, Brest moves to Picardy. I'm pronouncing it the French way, it's Picardy. Paris to Burgundy. And Marseille Hull.
Kiel to Holland. Berlin to Kiel. Munich to Silesia.
Moscow to Livonia. And then Warsaw is stationary.
Should have picked it up really.
Petersburg. Or the fleet is in Petersburg. Goes over to the Gulf. And I forgot that one. Where's that one at?
Sevastopol.
Stationary.
Okay, that's fine. So, Constantinople, Bulgaria, Smyrna, hold, and Constantinople.
Budapest to Serbia, Vienna to Budapest, and Trieste to the Adriatic.
London to the English Channel. Liverpool to Wales. And that thing to North Sea.
Okay, everyone finished?
Yep.
Okay, on to the fall. Is this my pen? I think it's my pen. No, this pen doesn't seem to work.
45 minutes for that. 45 minutes for like a minute of moving pieces.
It was really disappointing. Everyone did exactly as I was expecting them to. Like, damn. Except you.
I would like to do in a minute.
Oh, okay. Alright.
Okay.
Are we having diplomacy?
Is that okay?
Is
I
anyone,
want to
is anyone
do
calling?
diplomacy with Patrick.
Okay.
You're at war with France after Patrick's outburst.
Is it audio
No.
okay?
No.
Yeah?
I'm not a war
Only
enemy.
I'm rolling.
You may be soon. I hate to tell you that.
I know that Austria and Hungary are planning to march on me. I know that England is planning to march on me. I know that France might be planning to march on me, but would rather have me as an ally than be at war.
Did you guys do it?
Yeah.
That was quick.
Patrick, I need to talk to you.
Oh, we're supposed to film
Wait a minute, we're meant to be filming this.
Don't worry, that one wasn't all that important.
I have an arrangement that I would like to propose to you.
No? Yes?
If Austria-Hungary do choose to try and attack me, would you be willing to take them in the Budapest?
You see, I'm going to let you in on a secret. They're not attacking you this turn. This turn, they're moving their armies here. Right? Now that is far more a threat to me than it is to you. If they turn around and start attacking you, I may consider attacking them in the rear. However, I will make no promises, especially considering that they'll have 2 armies on my borders.
But if they do choose to attack, you'll be beneficial in that you can take Budapest and Trieste. Austria-Hungary are going to make a play for me.
Yeah.
So I would like to make the gentleman's agreement that if they attack me, you will come to my assistance. In return, I will give you access to Trieste and Budapest.
The gentleman's agreement, I shall defend you. I haven't shaken anyone else's hand, so fuck that lot.
Was it basically, are you going to attack me? Yes. Oh, damn.
No, it wasn't at all, actually.
That's just disappointing. I said Sevastopol with Black Sea, because otherwise I'm going to go Black Sea.
Did we talk to each other?
Yeah.
Oh.
You didn't.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I really forgot.
So I just sat there going, well, my usual tactic is Ankara, and I can do it.
Do you want to talk to me, Alex? Shall we talk?
Are you going to move into the Black? I think that as you didn't do it last time, are you going to move into the Black Sea this year? Or are you just going to stay there forever? Because that's not a great move.
I know exactly. See, I wanted to move, then I kind of chickened out. I think I should. Yeah, I'll move.
I understand. Liam has informed me that you have an agreement with him. Whereas he is attacked by Austria-Hungary, then you will attack Austria-Hungary.
That agreed? Oh, okay. News to me.
I will support you in that agreement if you agree that if Austria-Hungary attacks me, that you will attack Austria-Hungary. Liam has agreed to this.
So, all against us.
If they attack me. If they don't attack me,
okay.
that's fine. If they don't attack Liam, that's fine. If they attack you, that's fine. No, okay.
If they attack me,
if they attack you,
we'll
we'll come to you. Don't worry.
Come to my aid.
As moving away from my role as Turkey and into my role as referee, what are you trying to capture this turn?
Holland and Denmark.
Holland and Denmark. So you're going 2 new armies.
Yep.
Have you got a plan of where you're going to put them?
Munich and amazing Kiel.
Okay, make sure that there's not something already in there that will block your plans. Just
There won't be.
okay. Good. I'm back to Turkey, and I shall enjoy slaughtering your bones in the field of battle.
Okay, so after that turn of diplomacy, we're ready to all move. Okay, is everyone ready?
Yep.
Reveal your moves. Okay, we're going to go in reverse order this time. So, Georgia.
Okay. The ship's going Lancashire. North Sea is going to Norway, and Wales is going to. What was that? Oh, London.
Okay, so you have, at the end of the fall, you have 1 space. Do you want to make a mark? Chris?
Budapest will be moving to Romania. Serbia will be supporting that. And the Ajax Sea will be moving to Ionian.
I was expecting you to double cross me. I was rather surprised that you didn't. It's kind of bugged my plans, but that's fine. Okay, Bulgaria is holding. Constantinople is moving to the Aegean, and Smyrna is moving to Ankara.
It's an interesting view of your trust of Chris there.
Miss Russia.
I wonder what she'll be doing.
The fleet in the Gulf is moving to Sweden. Livonia is moving. No, oh wait, no, that wouldn't make sense. Warsaw is moving to the Ukraine.
Yeah.
And then,
Livonia's
yeah, that
Warsaw.
one.
No, that's holding, isn't it?
And that's staying.
It's kind of curious how you know her moves before she does.
The Austro-Hungarians practically directed that move.
Holland Navy is staying. Silesia is staying. And Kiel is moving to Denmark. So, again, 2.
Monsieur Vampire, French vampire.
Not vampire, not vapier.
Shut up.
Don't pick.
What's your moves?
Okay, Picardy into Belgium. Burgundy into the Ruhr. And Marseille into the Gascony.
Into the Gascony.
Do I get 2?
No.
Like, I get 2 presumably.
No.
Or was I just taking 2 new territories?
No, you
doesn't
have to
have a
get a
spot.
dot.
That hasn't got a dot.
Ah.
If you'd gone to Munich, you'd have got a dot.
Pissed, wouldn't it?
Do got things on now.
Yes.